So when you're thinking about merging your pensions into one, what if one of the biggest mistakes that you could ever make happens even before you retire? Now, on the face of it, pension consolidation sounds like a good idea. With less paperwork, more financial control, and let's not forget about those bigger numbers and those bigger valuations. But what they don't tell you is that this could trigger hidden fees or the loss of valuable guarantees, which could wreck your retirement even before it started. So in this week's video, I'm going to explain the size of the problem and reveal the 5 best reasons to combine your pensions and the 5 risks and dangers that you might not be aware of. Welcome back to the Personal Finance Crew. If this is your first time, a very warm welcome. Hi, my name is Simon and I'm a chartered financial planner with decades of experience in helping hundreds of clients as well as their families prepare ahead with confidence by keeping more of what they've earned. Being an insider, and we'll try and help you make money makes sense. So let's be real, pensions are messy. Now, if you've changed jobs even a handful of times, there's a very good chance that you've got some pension pots scattered around like loose change at the back of your financial sofa. In fact, those aged between 30 and 44 years old, they're likely to have up to 12 different jobs in their lifetime. And now, thanks to pension dashboards and digital tools, more people than ever are asking, should I just combine all my pensions into one? It sounds simple and it certainly feels productive, but pension consolidation can be both a financial power move and a potential financial trap, depending on how you go about it. So I'm going to expose 5 easy wins of consolidating your pensions into one and 5 big risks that could cost you thousands of pounds if you're not careful. So let's have a look at the 5 easy wins first. So number 1, lower fees is going to equal a bigger pension pot. Well, old pensions can often be like fee-hungry dinosaurs. They were often sold by commission-driven financial advisors, and they came loaded with charges, some of which you would never tolerate today. But modern workplace pensions, well, they're much leaner, and they can have a much lower fee system as well, and they've been heavily discounted in some cases by the pension provider. So over decades, that kind of difference certainly can add up to the end result. Now, I ran a quick calculation for someone paying £5,000 a year into a pension for 30 years, and I assumed a 7% growth rate. And a 1% fee meant that the final return was £419,000 versus £505,000, and that was a difference of £86,000 or about 17%. Number 2, having a singular investment approach. Now imagine you've got multiple pensions with multiple providers. That means you're likely to have multiple investment strategies too, and no real idea of how them combine together or even how they each individually work. So in reality, did you do any research yourself to select the funds, or did you just automatically get bounced into their default fund? Now, these funds are designed to be suitable for most people most of the time, but many of these funds just assume that you're going to take the maximum 25% tax-free cash at retirement and buy an annuity with the difference. Now, these funds gradually shift your pension money from stocks and shares to bonds and into cash as you get closer to retirement. Now, the problem with that is that since pension freedoms in 2015, only about 10% of people buy annuities, whereas about 90% of people decide to go down the income drawdown route. Now, this glide path is based on your selected retirement age at the time of joining the scheme and not the age you actually may want to retire. That means it doesn't take into consideration your risk profile at all. So what that means is you could be de-risking way sooner, or worse, even later than planned, leaving you with lower returns or even exposing you to unnecessary investment risk. Now, these funds are not tailored to your specific needs, but to the needs of the masses, and that could cost you a lot in the long term. And number 3 is having access to more modern investments. Now, older funds might still be stuck in the UK equities forever mindset, but modern pension funds are more likely to offer global options such as sustainable investing, ESG, or tapping into markets such as the emerging markets or even infrastructure. So staying in a dusty and a dated legacy fund may mean missing out on decades of innovation as well as much smarter global diversification. Number 4 is more straightforward shopping for annuities. Now, even if buying an annuity isn't on your radar right now, it might well be later on. And when the time comes, having a larger pension pot can make the process a whole lot easier. So whilst bigger pots don't get you a higher annuity rate, they can give you one quote, one contract, and importantly, one income stream, rather than multiple smaller ones with a lot less flexibility. Now, it might be worthwhile pointing out that annuity sales have hit a 10-year high, and the rates that you can actually get from your annuity are closer to a 14-year high, so they can't be forgotten forever. And number 5, how about one login, one dashboard, and no headaches? Well, managing several pension providers is like herding cats. Now, some are going to be paper-based, some are online, and that means you can have different logins, different emails, different passwords, and of course, different statements, but one big headache. Now, believe you when I tell you, I spend way too much time chasing providers and wasting way too much time trying to speak to the right person and get the correct information first time. And I don't wish that stress on anybody. So consolidation is going to put everything all into one place, making it easier to track, manage, and of course plan for the future. And of course that means you're more likely to stay engaged with the retirement plan, to stay informed, and to take action when everything's under one roof and a lot more simple. Now, a lot of modern platforms today have financial education and tools like retirement calculators, as well as fund research and charts to help you make a very informed choice. So if you're finding value in this video about pension consolidation, where we're highlighting 5 easy wins, as well as the 5 big risks of taking control of your pension, then please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. And feel free to share some of your horror stories with dealing with pension providers in the comments below. Let's have a look at the 5 big risks that you need to be aware of before you hit the pension transfer button. Now, some old pensions come with guaranteed annuity rates, which are basically a golden ticket providing you with a secure income for life at rates which are higher and sometimes much higher than you could obtain and get for yourself in the open market. And all of that is going to be without any investment risk at all, no matter how badly the financial markets perform in the future. Now, clearly, these guarantees are rare and very valuable. And if you've got one of these guarantees and you moved it, well, that benefit will be lost forever. Now, some plans can also offer you guaranteed cash sums at retirement. And there's also some protected tax-free cash plans out there as well. And they could give you more than the standard 25% tax-free cash. In fact, I've seen some of these as high as 100%. That's your entire pension pot tax-free. So just let that sink in for a minute. So number 2, you could lose some of your tax perks. If you've got a few smaller pension pots under £10,000, they come with special tax privileges, as well as flexible rules, which don't trigger the dreaded money purchase annual allowance. And this is where your annual allowance for defined contribution pension schemes is reduced to just £10,000 gross per tax year. Now, you can take these smaller lump sums from age 55, which is rising to age 57. And when you take that lump sum, 25% is going to be tax-free and 75% is going to be taxable. And you can do that with 3 personal pension plans, but it's unlimited occupational workplace pensions. So you may lose some flexibility when you're converting your pension into retirement income. Number 3, you may trigger exit penalties or exit fees. Now, one thing that you may not know is that with new pensions, they don't apply any exit penalties for leaving, but some of those older pension plans most definitely can. Now, some providers are going to slap on exit fees, especially if you're aged under 55 to transfer, or bury some penalties in something called a market value adjustment, especially if you're leaving the plan early. Now, some of these exit penalties can be absolutely brutal. So make sure you check your transfer valuation is the same as your investment valuation so that there's no hidden surprises if you do decide to consolidate your pension. Number 4, you might lose access to your pension at age 55. Now, you can currently access your pension when you reach the normal minimum pension age, which is currently age 55, but that's going to be rising to age 57 in April 2028. And that's going to be aligning with the state pension age also rising to age 67 by April 2028. So in some cases, your provider will still allow you to access your pension from age 55. But if you transfer that pension to another provider, you may then have to wait longer to access your pension money to age 57, and that option could then be lost forever. And finally, you may get less financial protection. Now, consolidating your pensions is convenient, but putting all your retirement savings with one provider also carries its own separate risk, especially if it's a SIP provider with limited compensation coverage. Now, the Financial Services Compensation Scheme is an important backstop in the UK, and that's going to cover you up to £85,000 if your SIP provider goes bust. But it's also worth mentioning that if you've got a trust-based pension with one of the large providers such as Nest, the People's Pensions, or Now Pensions, these are usually ring-fenced. So even if your employer or the provider goes bust, your assets are likely to be safe still. Now, pension consolidation can be a very powerful move, but you need to be aware of the risks, and it's definitely not a one-size-all approach for everybody. So if you decide to consolidate your pensions, you're going to need to know how much you can withdraw. So I've included 2 further videos in this series about why you shouldn't use the 4% rule, and another video explaining the various withdrawal rates that have worked since pensions freedoms came into force 10 years ago. Thank you so much for watching to the very end and for your time and for your patience. As always, I'm going to see you all again next week.